All right, let's talk Florida Gators. Obviously, this Florida team finished 2024 strong, has built a lot of momentum this offseason, heading into a massive year in the 2025 campaign for Billy Napier specifically. This is, I think we can all be honest here, a make it or break it campaign for this Florida head coach. Strong finish to 2024 is good, but not enough. Expecting big things going forward. Good news for him, though, is that his young star quarterback, DJ Lagway, just got some outstanding news. It's clear there's a lot of momentum behind this kid, and there's something special that's going to drive him forward, I think, into superstardom. We'll get to this latest report and some interesting data in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Florida Gators, I think, are going to be a lot better than people think in the SEC. Now, it's a brutal SEC, as it always is, but people look at this Florida squad, and I still think they're underestimating them. But when you look at the most important position on the field, of course, the quarterback position, DJ Lagway being the starter heading into year 2 after taking over the reins midway through the 2024 season. Folks, he's impressing all the right people. He's off to a great start. Let's pull up this report here, courtesy of Kirk Herbstreit when he was a guest on the Pat McAfee show. It's very interesting commentary here. It's a few days old here, but I think it's very, very interesting. He said, in this era of NIL and portal, you're just expected these guys to check out. And he, talking about Napier, rallies them at the end of the year. They win a bunch of games. Here's the important part. Lagway, to me, if you're trying to find the guy in the middle of October we're talking about, that's the guy, right? Talking about Heisman contender, big name. We know about Sellers, Lenore Sellers for South Carolina. We know about, I think, Mateer at Oklahoma has a chance to, but I think if there is a guy, it's DJ Lagway at Florida that people are going to fall in love with. I was proud of Florida, the way they kept fighting, talking about how they finished the 2024 season on a high note. Napier gets a lot of credit, but I think Lagway's performance was a big part of that as well. And when you look into the odds, and here's where it gets interesting. We talk about the Heisman Trophy odds for 2025. You can see the big names, some of the names I just mentioned, right? Arch Manning's in a great spot. Garrett Nussmeier, Klubnik, Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State, Lenore Sellers, Julian Say, and Drew Allard. Like the guys right there are the guys you hear all the time. But there you have DJ Lagway, right? A little bit past halfway. He has a decent amount of odds. And I think I'm not giving you anybody any advice. I'm not saying go ahead and gamble. I'm personally against that kind of thing. I'm not saying people shouldn't, but I'm just saying I wouldn't recommend anything one way or the other. But I tell you what, I feel like he should be a heavier favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. We saw the way he finished last season. We saw the momentum that they carried the team into the bowl game and they won decisively. Wasn't perfect. So it's not like he had just an immaculate second half of the season. He had, I think, 5 interceptions down the stretch. So it wasn't like he was just somehow went on just like a lucky streak or something. He had his turnovers. He had his lumps as a freshman, but his physical skill set was incredible. His leadership skill set emerged, and this Florida team just overnight got a lot better, really finished strong down the stretch. Great position going forward. Classic blue blood SEC. I mean, DJ Lagway to me is going to be, like Herbstreit mentioned in the article a second ago, I should say on the interview on the McAfee show a second ago, that he's going to be the guy. I think Lagway's the next face of college football. I really do. He is that special. He is that athletic. Everyone's looking at Arch Manning or maybe Sellers in Columbia, South Carolina. Those guys are great, right? I expect wonderful things out of all those guys. But I tell you what, there's just something about Lagway. And I'm not a Florida Gator fan personally, right? I'm not, I'm trying to put my biases aside, whatever they may be here, and looking at all these different quarterbacks. But there is something just innate about Lagway. It's hard to wrap your mind around, where even if he doesn't have the best game or the best performance, or he's a little off, he finds a way to do amazing things. And just, he has a little bit of that Anthony Richardson thing where he can just do the incredible, but he's also so polished, right? He is a quarterback. He is almost a pro-style kind of quarterback mixed with freakish arm talent, and he's got maturity for his age in spades. I'm looking at just a special guy here in DJ Lagway. I think to me, in my mind, I don't know if he's the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy just because, a lot of things could happen. I think he should be much higher on this list. I think he's going to have a special 2025 campaign, and guess what? Kirk Herbstreit does too. So there's something there. We're both on the same page. But when you look at Lagway's numbers here and compare them to Lenore Sellers and Nussmeier down the stretch, so I compared Lagway once he took over. I used those numbers because obviously in spot duty and playing FCS competition earlier in the season, that just really inflated his numbers. It made his numbers look even better. So this is just when he became the starter, comparing Sellers as a starter and Garrett Nussmeier as a starter for the LSU Tigers. Again, this is last season numbers. And the two metrics I like for quarterbacks, especially college football, is yards per attempt and adjusted yards per attempt. So yards per attempt is exactly what it sounds like. It takes your passing yards divided by, the number of attempts, and then adjusted yards per attempt just factors in touchdowns and interceptions, right? Just to kind of weight it to that scale a little bit. And you can see Lenore Sellers a little bit above 8 for both, outstanding. Nussmeier a little below 8, pretty good, nothing wrong there. And you can see DJ Lagway better than both those guys, both in yards per attempt and adjusted yards per attempt. And that delta, you'll notice how the blue and red, blue yards per attempt, red adjusted yards per attempt there. You notice how for Sellers and Nussmeier, it's pretty close together, and Lagway, there's a little delta there. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because like I said, Lagway had a lot of turnovers. He had a lot of freshman turnovers there down the stretch. I expect him to solve a lot of those turnovers, and you'll see that red bump up higher, right? Because like I mentioned before, adjusted yards per attempt in red, that weights interceptions pretty heavily. So if Lagway, which he will, I think freshman to sophomore year, very common, happens to everybody, and it seems like he's working on it very much this offseason based on reporting, gets better at protecting the football, that red will go up to match the blue the way it does for Nussmeier and Sellers, and we'll see just how far Lagway separates himself from the competition, right? And again, this is just unbiased data, right? We're not looking at, total volume of passing yards, where if you threw the ball 50 times a game, we're not looking at, any other metric except, okay, yards per attempt. Every single time you drop back, how many yards do you get? It's the perfect efficiency metric for evaluating quarterbacks, and DJ Lagway is significantly better than 2 stars, 2 Heisman Trophy faithfuls, 2 big names in the SEC. Florida Gators fans, you should be incredibly excited about the future of your program in just a few weeks, in just a couple months. I think we're going to see the next face of college football emerging in Gainesville. All right, got a lot of information I just threw at you guys. Got a little more I want to talk about, but first, Florida fans, in the comment section below, we're talking the quarterback position, of course, with DJ Lagway, and so that leads me directly into a very interesting question for you guys. Who is the third best quarterback? Let me take a step back. Who is the second best quarterback in Florida Gators history, right? The first one we'll say is Tebow. Whether you agree or disagree, we'll just put Tebow out there. But who is the second best, right? Are you going to go back to the 60s with Spurrier? Are you a Warfel guy? Are you a Rex Grossman guy? Maybe you're a Chris Leak guy. I kind of like Chris Leak. Kind of felt he got a bad rap. But give us, in your opinion, the second best quarterback in Florida Gators history, and put them in the comment section below. Really interested what you guys have to say there. Could definitely go a couple different directions. I think give me an interesting name. I want to hear a name I haven't heard in a little while. I think Kerwin Bell, I think is a name, maybe if you really go back far enough. Interestingly enough, I was recruited years ago when he was at Jacksonville University. Kerwin Bell recruited me, so kind of a funny little sidebar there. But when it comes to Lagway, and getting back to the topic at hand, I think the interesting thing for Florida and the biggest challenge facing the Gators is consistency. And I think that was one of the things when you look at Lagway on a game-by-game basis, he could have these drives and plays that were outstanding. But the question is, in a brutal SEC, can you be consistent? Because it's sort of like the National Football League in a way where you can, if you have an off day, you can lose to anybody. You can lose to Kentucky. You can lose to Vanderbilt. Obviously, you can use to Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, Carolina, right? You go down the list, LSU, A&M, Oklahoma, right? If you have an off day, like Oklahoma was terrible last year, and they spanked Alabama, right? It's just the way it is in the SEC. You can have a slightly off day, and you have a bad loss, and suddenly you're out of the playoff, right? It's the 12-team playoff. The good news is that kind of gives you an opportunity to if you have one or two of those, to overcome it, but it still isn't perfect. You still need to find a way to execute to make sure you don't get that third loss, right? Instead, before it was 1 loss, now it's 3 losses. And if you're the Florida Gators, Lagway consistency, that is the biggest question mark. Because if you look at a guy specifically, Nussmeier at LSU, a lot of experience. He's been there a little bit more before. Sellers is a little bit older as well. That may be advantage for those guys. I look at Arch Manning in Texas, and to me, if you're asking me about Heisman favorites, to me, that seems too easy, right? I honestly think Arch Manning is going to be good, and I think he's going to be really good, but I don't think he's going to be nearly as good as the other 3 guys I mentioned. I think if you look at the best quarterback in the SEC, it's going to come down to Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, and this guy, DJ Lagway, and I am much higher on Lagway than I am on those other 2 guys. I think Lenore Sellers is a freak. I think he's a monster. I think he's a physical beast. I think the problem with these great physical freaks and athletes in college football is that with an offseason to look at them and evaluate, you can come up with ways to contain it, right? You can't really stop them, but you can come up with ways, if you're an opposing SEC defensive coordinator, to contain a guy who's that physically gifted. And I think we're going to see Lenore Sellers take a step back this year because of it. I think Nussmeier is good, not great. Obviously, more traditional quarterback. And then I look at a guy like DJ Lagway. He's like the best of both worlds. Great physical arm talent, off the charts in terms of that kind of making plays with his arm, can scramble as well, but he's got the veteran quarterback, the pocket passer mindset. very accurate, but I think he can be a little sloppy with the turnovers and decision making at times. But guess what? He was a freshman. He was a kid, right? That's going to happen. I think an offseason under the belt, spring training under the belt, we're going to get a full summer, or we did get a full summer and then a training camp. I think with that mindset as a number one guy, he's going to come into the regular season, keeping that big play mentality still, but also dialing back the mistakes, like figuring out a way to toe that line perfectly. I love the Magic Johnson line when he was talking about point guards and when he was looking for point guards. He would always want to see a point guard have just go on the absolute edge and start turning the ball over too much, talking about basketball here. And then right at that moment, then he would dial it back. Because he would say, I want you to be on the edge to making big plays and then go over the edge a little bit and then dial it back. I felt like Lagway, and I think you Florida fans will agree with this, he was over that edge a little bit last year at times. I think in an offseason allows this Gators coaching staff to dial it back to that perfect point where he can make big plays, be hyper-productive, but not go over the edge with the turnovers. And if he can toe that line, and I think he will, this Florida Gators team, they're not just going to be good, they're going to be incredibly good. They're going to be elite. They're going to be playoff contenders. And DJ Lagway will be heading to a certain conference here at the end of the season to maybe accept the most prestigious award in college football.